Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's a great day. Here we are back again. Thursday live broadcast. Thursday live broadcast with me here. I'm Rodney Bennett, also known as Rodney B. Speaks. But man, today is a great day. Today is a great day. We're excited. Hey, what's going on over there on Facebook, on our Rodney B. Speaks page, and on my personal page, also on YouTube Live. Good afternoon. And also on Instagram Live. Good afternoon. Today is a great day. And we're just going to give everybody a couple minutes. Just come on in and come on in the room and join us. We got a really exciting, great topic we're going to be talking about today. Again, finishing up, I believe, at part 2, unless there's a part 3. Never know how these things go. But yeah, come on in. It's a great day. It is a great day to be alive, great day to be free. And it is a great day to be free. And so we're going to give you maybe about 2 more minutes to come on in. Man, exciting things are happening, man. I know it is so much going on in this world and so much going on around us. Oh, I get it. I get it. So much happening, so much going on. But listen, it is the right time to be right. It's the right time to be right with God. It's the right time to be strong. It's the right time to be pushing forward, moving forward, and in what you're doing, how you're doing it. And listen, congratulations. If you are pushing, forging ahead during this time, in this season, man, in this world, in this country, if you are moving forward and pushing ahead, congratulations. I don't know whether anybody told you today or not, but you're doing a great job because it's not easy. It is not easy, man, but we got to push through and fight through and keep on going. And so we got a great conversation and subject that we want to talk about today. We started on last week with it, and we will finish up today. I don't know how many saw the short, brief promo I did a couple hours ago, but man, people saw the promo and bought the book right there. So people bought my book. It's been 3 years now. I guess I don't promote it as much as I should, but maybe that'll change. But man, it's exciting. It's exciting, man. And thank you for those who purchased the book earlier today, right after we did the promotional segment and talking about today. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Interesting part is, like, I'm not going to roll it right now, but the interesting part is I talked in the book. I wrote the book 3 years ago. I talked in the first part of the book about an interesting experience I had while riding on the train at that time, and I saw a couple close and connected, two people, and one of the persons, the male, was high, and he was very high on drugs. He was high on heroin, and the woman who was with him, she was normal, like a normal everyday businesswoman going to do whatever she had to do that day, except for one thing: they were together. They were together, man. And so, man, that always stuck in my mind. And when I put together the book, Overcome Your Storms, Rebuild Hope, that just seemed like a great way to kick off this book and introduce it with that level of adversity that those two were going through, her affliction and his addiction, I said in the book. And but yet there is hope. Yet there is hope. There is hope. Oh, there's hope. Put that in the chat. Instagram, put that in the chat. Facebook, there is hope, man. You don't have to quit. You don't have to give up. And many of us, you may have been maybe you are in a situation with a loved one. We're talking about how to love a loved one with a stronghold, part 2. And maybe many of you are dealing with a son or a daughter or maybe a parent maybe an aunt, maybe an uncle, maybe just someone who's a close friend, a former girlfriend or boyfriend, and they are struggling with some kind of life controlling habit, some kind of substance abuse, or maybe they are, maybe they listen. There's people today that are addicted to gaming, and they can't stop doing it, and they can't stop gaming, and their life just falls apart because they can't stop. So there's all kinds of things today that people find themselves handcuffed to in their soul, incarcerated in their soul. And so that was a depiction in my book, a way of kind of depicting that. And so it's interesting that 3 years later, we come full circle, because I shared earlier today, I was talking about the fact that there's been several individuals that have come to me recently on behalf of a loved one. They're dealing with a loved one who has a stronghold, and they don't understand how to deal with it. They don't understand it. They've never been under the influence of that particular stronghold or bondage, or whatever you want to, habit, sin, whatever you want to call it. And they can't quite wrap their mind around how it works, what's going on with their loved one. And so this little talk, two-part talk, was born out of that. And I got a feeling, that this is going to be the subject of my first free masterclass. My first free masterclass is going to probably 9 times out of 10, it's going to cover this subject matter. It's going to be a master class. We're going to have some other special guests on, and so look for news about that. Look for news about this free master class. I said free master class on how to love a loved one with a stronghold. So let's get started. So I shared last week, and I'll share it again. Real brief, my story. Many of you know who I am. Many of you don't, and what I've been through. In all actuality, there's 9 different strongholds that God rescued me from and set me free from. 9 different ones, and they were all out to destroy my life. And I'm not going to go into it now, but I was addicted to drugs and alcohol for 15 years. 15 years of my life, I was in bondage, man. To drugs, to alcohol, to crack cocaine. And one time I was, I had my own little pharmaceutical industry going, and all kinds of different things. And so, listen, man, I was addicted. I was strung out for 15 years. But guess what? Now, today, I've been free for almost 25. I've been free. Haven't touched a drink, haven't touched a 40, haven't touched a bag, haven't smoked a joint. Listen, 25 years and going. We ain't done yet. But yeah, I've been free for almost 25 years. I've been a counseling alcohol. I counsel alcohol and drug abusers and their families for over 20 years now. I was a senior overseer at a residential drug program for almost 2 years. I was a program director for an outreach and discipleship program that I started called The Cure for 11 years. My resources, number one, my mom. My mom, man. My mom, I'm telling you. I just want to write a book about my mom. I'm telling you. My mom, man, she was so persistent. She was so full of faith. And she had a whole squad of faith-filled believers that were standing with her in prayer. And so my mom was definitely the greatest influence. Right behind her was my father. Then I had a mentor, a guy who stood with me. It's been almost 30 years now. He's still in my life, still in my corner, Wayne Holmes. A shout out to him. And I've had an army of friends, counselors, and loved ones that have been my resources and my influence over the years. So let's jump right into it. I said last week, the person who is loving, caring about the person with the stronghold, we're going to call you the facilitator. We're going to call you the facilitator. And the reason why is, on our best day, what we can do with a person who's struggling with bondage and struggling with, the best we can do is facilitate them. Now we can, just like I am a recipient, we can pray. We can pray heaven down on their behalf, and God will listen. and I'm a living witness, and I am a proof positive and product of the power of prayer. We can pray, but ultimately it has to be their decision. One of the points I made last week is you can't force their decision and you can't make them ready, but you should understand that your role as their loved one is the most influential. As your spouse, your husband, your wife, it may be your child, it may be your son, it may be your mother, it may be your father, aunt, uncle. You need to understand that you can't force their decision, but you should understand that your role is the most influential one outside of Jesus to encourage them, to ignite them, to propel them into making the right decision. So we're going to pick up where we left off. We talked about some things last week. We're not going to go back into all of those things, but we're going to pick up off where we left off. So these are the things that you must know in order to be ready. I'm talking to you, the facilitator, you who has the loved one with the stronghold. Here are a couple more things. We talked about a couple last week. We'll talk about a couple this week. Here are some things that you must know and understand. I'm going to tell you something. The mind of a person that is on drugs or alcohol or porn or gaming or whatever it is, and they have a stronghold or they have a habit or they have an addiction, the mind of that person does not function the way your mind does. The mind is functioning completely different. It's the same brain, but the mind is functioning. And I say that because it's important for you to understand that you don't understand, that you don't understand the way they think, why they do what they do, why they say what they say, why that you cannot. Now you can communicate with them, you can ask them and talk to them, but the mind that is working in them is not the mind that's working inside of your mind. And so it's important to understand that. But a stronghold, first of all, let's pick up on the list we picked up last week. The next one we talked about is a stronghold in the mind has been fortified over time. It's been fortified. You have to understand, facilitator, you that have the loved one with the stronghold, with the habit, with the thing that they can't stop doing. It has been built up in their mind and fortified over time. Now, what do I mean by fortified? What I mean by fortified is just like you go into the bank. You go into the bank, you go to the teller, and you may withdraw $1,000, or you may withdraw $2,000, and 9 times out of 10, they're going to go in a drawer, and they're going to find that money, and they're going to disperse it to you, and you will have the money out of your account. However, if you go into the bank and you ask them for $50,000 or $100,000, then it's a whole different process. Then they have to go into the vault. And because the vault there's more valuables in the vault, it's highly protected. There's layers of protectors, not just the door that you see them turning, but there's layers of protection and alarms on that vault. So when I say fortified, I mean there's things inside of the mind of a person with a stronghold that is meant to protect and defend the habit so they can continue to do it. You ever notice a lot of times you deal with a person and they may be under the influence of any kind of stronghold or any kind of force of darkness, and you start talking to them about something, and before you know it, they have flipped the script or flipped the conversation, and they're talking about something that's going on in your life. They're talking about something you need to change. They're talking about something that you didn't do for them when they were a child, and all this because there is something inside of them that this thing is vaulted and is protected, and it has walled itself in so it can continue to run in this person's life until it destroys and kills them. So it's important to understand that a stronghold in the mind has been fortified over time. And guess what? It's been built and constructed over time, and it's going to have to be broken down. It's going to have to be destroyed, and it's going to have to be taken apart over time. And I'm not saying Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying that God can't do a supernatural simultaneous breakthrough in a person's life and break habits. God can. But I want to let you know something. After that, that person still has to know how to live that life and make a decision to do it. So, stronghold is a stronghold in the mind has been fortified over time. Here's another one. The brand of love you must have for them. The brand of love, facilitator, father, son, daughter, uncle, aunt, husband, wife. The brand of love you must have for the person with the stronghold must include four things. It must include, first of all, consistency. Then it must include objectivity. It certainly must have spirituality. And it must have strong accountability. Don't let anybody who has a habit, anybody who's been addicted, anybody who's been on alcohol, anybody who has any kind of addiction make you think that they can do it and they're going to do it on their own. They're going to get this thing together on their own. No, they will not. I'm telling you. No, they will not. They must have consistency. They must have a brand of love that has consistency, objectivity, spirituality, and strong accountability. And here's another thing you must know in order to be ready to help or facilitate someone who's ready for help. You must know that no, we can't just go back to the way things are. A famous move of a person who has struggled with addiction, alcohol, drugs, porn, gaming, gambling, eating, whatever the case is. Here is how the cycle goes. They do okay, then they fall back into it. Not every person, but then they fall back into it, then they stay into it, and then things get crazy and they fall apart and they make seriously bad decisions that can threaten their life and threaten their freedom and so forth. And then they get it together, or the state makes them get it together. And then after a week or two, they'll come back and they will make you think that we can just go back to the way things were. I'm better now. I'm not doing that. I haven't done that in 8 days. I haven't drank in 8 days. I haven't got high in 8 days. I'm all better now. Can't we just go back to the way things were? And your answer must be an unequivocal no. We cannot. Because in a week, in a month, let me tell you something. In a year, in 2 years, you will not be quote unquote normal. You will not go back to the way you were. It's not reality. It may be a reality that a loved one is trying to make you think, and they'll go to great lengths to make you think so. Because sometimes even they think so. But the reality is no, you haven't changed that fast, because this is something that has been built up in your mind over time. Okay, now the initiator. We're going to talk about the initiator, or the person who needs the help, the person who has the stronghold. These are the attitudes that you look for in a person that has gone through, is going through, or whatever, anyway, involved with the stronghold. And I'm going to tell you something. There was a time in my life where I would do well for 6 months or a year, and then I would relapse or backslide. And guess what? I was back to the same ground zero. Now, I knew some things. I understood some things about God, some things about the scripture. But the reality is that craving, my flesh was back where it started, ready to destroy my life again. So there are some things that that you have to look for. And I'm saying this because sometimes you may have a loved one that may go for 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years. And it may look through all appearances as if they have beaten that thing. It's done. But you have to understand, this is a lifestyle that they're going to have to live. They're going to have to change. They're going to have to do things for the rest of their life. Now, I'm not saying that they are going to have this habit for the rest of their life. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying they're going to have to adjust their mind and be prepared to be in victory for the rest of their life. So, okay, outside counsel. This is for the person who has the stronghold. And for you, the facilitator, this is the things that you look for. These are the attitudes you look for in a person that's ready to change. Ready to change. Outside, they must accept that outside counsel / coach / mentor with firsthand experience, spirituality, and a proven victory. You can't get around it. You can't get around it. You need someone, facilitator, and the person with the stronghold needs someone, a counsel, a coach, or a mentor with first-hand experience. I'm telling you what I know. A person without first-hand experience, they can help you. They can help you a great deal. Even a spiritual person and they're connected to God and they move under the prophetic unction, they can help you. But there are things in this journey that only a coach, a counselor, or a mentor with firsthand experience is going to be able to help you through. So you got to have an outside coach, counselor, or mentor with firsthand experience, spirituality, and proven victory. Back up. Spirituality. You must have a connection with God, and a real one. You must have a connection with God. Talking about it with a group of colleagues. We were talking about it the other day, and we were talking about the difference between, and it wasn't meaning to go down this road, but I'm here now. The difference between recovery and sobriety and freedom. Two separate things. See, I'm not in recovery. I'm not in sobriety. I have been set free. I have been released from custody of that addiction to drugs and alcohol. I'm never going back. People say never, say never. Well, the Bible says never. The Bible says you go, if you do these different things, I should have the verse. I'm so sorry. But it says if you do these things and you're diligent about them, you will never fall. But I don't have any dreams about drugs. I don't have any dreams about, premarital sex and all that kind of. I don't have any dreams where I'm drinking and I'm drunk. And I don't have no dreams. I don't wake up wanting to drink. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to degrade anybody for their experience or invalidate anyone's experience. What I'm trying to tell you is I have been set free. How? Good question. John chapter 8, verse 31. Jesus said this. Those Jews follow him, that if you continue in my words, you will be my disciples indeed, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John chapter 8, he's talking in the context of sin. So he was talking about being set free from sin. And how? It is through knowing the truth. It is through being a disciple. It is through continuing in his word. John chapter 8, verse 31. For me, recovery and sobriety was the beginning. It was the introduction. But in a short period of time, I needed something that was going to drill down deeper in my soul and then down into the motherboard of my thinking and change it. Okay. Next one. Willingness, humility, brokenness, and sincere compliance. The person who is ready, the initiator, the things you're going to look for in that person, your loved one, is a willingness and a humility, otherwise known as brokenness. Willingness and brokenness. And then follow behind that willingness and brokenness, there's going to be sincere compliance. They're going to be willing to comply with whatever, the family or the counselor or the loved one or whoever is on the scene. They're going to have a sincere willingness to comply. This is one thing. This is one way that you know that a person is probably not ready, because after they have an episode, they're going to come back and they have the answer already. They're going to come back and say, well, all I need to do is this. All I need to do is that. All I need to do is stay away from these people. All I need to do is I just need you to hold my money. All I need to do is I just need to get myself together. I just need to go to some meetings. I need to pull myself up by my own bootstrap. It's called self-diagnosing. When people when people have an ache or a pain, or they have some kind of ailment, and all of a sudden they turn into a medical professional, except for one thing: they're not. But in their mind, they self-diagnose what they believe is going on, and then they feel like they have the answer to fix it, but they don't. Unless it's been proven, unless you have some kind of something to go by. But listen, a person who has been struggling with a stronghold is the least person you want to be self-diagnosing and telling them, I'm not going to a rehab. I don't need to go to a rehab. No, I don't need to go to church. I don't need a counselor. This is all I need. Wrong. That's a person who's not ready. I'm sorry. That's a person who's not yet ready. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about today is I've done some interventions. I've done some interventions with family members and different things. I've had one or two, at least one I know that was man, it was radical. It was extreme. I remember coming home. I remember waking up one morning, and I came out into the living room. I was at my mom's, staying at my mom's house in Lagore Square, Burlington Township, and I came out to the room. I came out into the front room from the back where I stayed, the back room, and I started seeing different people and friends and different things, and my mentors and different people from my church, and my mom and dad was there, my sisters, and I was like, man, this is a great time of fellowship. I was like, where's the food at? Because this is the greatest show on earth. Everybody is here. And then they said, sit down. Sit down. And they proceeded why I wanted to talk to be about my life and how it had impacted them in a negative way. And at the end of all of that, this is the key. I don't know if you ever had one or been one or you've done intervention. At the end of the intervention, this is the key to it. You have to already have a program or a rehab, residential one, that they've already committed to being willing to help this person. That is the major piece of the intervention, because you have to get to the end of the intervention, and you have to bring the person to a decision. What are you going to do about all of this? And then collectively you say, well, we think the best thing for you to do is going to a program. Listen, you can inbox me. I know 2 great programs, 3 actually, but 2 great programs, and they're Bible-based, Christ-centered. And you can inbox me if you have a loved one or family member that needs help. Listen, I can point you in the right direction. And I can also give them some kind of endorsement that I believe, after speaking with them, is pre-screening them, of course. But listen, when you begin to talk to your loved one and talk to them, and they've reached a certain point, you have to already have a backup program where they can go. Again, this is the importance of having an outside counselor, a coach, or a mentor with firsthand experience, spirituality, and proven victory, because they are going to point you and connect you to the right direction, to a place where your loved one can go in. And it ain't going to be no 2 weeks or 30 days or 60 days either. Listen, I'm going to tell you very quite honestly, and people that I talk to and minister to, are not always happy and don't always accept it. But you need at least a year to begin to unravel the layers of your life and your soul that have been negatively impacted and wounded by the stronghold. So you got to have that in place. So listen, that is the last thing I'm going to get into today. Man, I could go on and on and on. This is my passion. It's what I do. God uses me in this way. I am a stronghold coach. It's what I do. So listen, you can inbox me very soon. Again, we're going to be working on this free master class, how to love a loved one who's struggling with a stronghold. But listen, I want to leave you with this. I was just looking at it, but I know it's a scripture in Matthew. I believe it's chapter 26. And they were talking to Jesus about the rich man, and Jesus talked about it's easier for him to go through the eye of a needle, for a camel to go through the eye of a needle, than it is for that rich man or that person to actually have a relationship with God, because he has so much possessions. And then Jesus looked at them, the Bible says, and he said this: with man, these things are impossible, but with God, nothing shall be impossible. So I want to encourage you today, because I know your pain, I know your struggle, I know your despair, I know you feel like you're fed up and you don't want to go anymore. But I want to encourage you today that there is hope, and with God, all things are possible. So don't give up. Don't ever listen. You may have to distance yourself. You may have to distance yourself for a while, for a long while, from that loved one with the stronghold. But I want to caution you: don't ever, ever quit on them. Don't ever quit on them. I know it's easier said than done, but don't ever quit on them, because little do you know, one of the small threads, rays of hope in their life, one of the small incentives in their life, is they want to be able to go back and love their family and be loved and trusted by their family again. So don't ever quit on your loved one with a stronghold. Listen, that is all the time I got. I'm already a couple minutes over. But listen, I want to thank you for stopping by over there on Instagram. We appreciate you for being with me here today, over here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Listen, I thank you so much for being here. Listen, this information, you can take it and you can use it. You can take it and you can use it, and it will help you work with your loved one with a stronghold. That's all I got for today. You have a great day.